Jasher chapter 18. In those days, all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, and of the whole 5 cities, were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And they provoked the Lord with their abominations, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before the Lord. And their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before the Lord. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about half a day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water, and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times in the year, with their wives and children, and all belonging to them. And they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. And in the time of rejoicing, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives, and some the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. And each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. And each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. And did not say a word.
11. These may look like innocent young girls, but police say they're high-priced prostitutes.
They're calling for action to stop an alleged surge in prostitution.
It has become notorious over the years for prostitution.
And police announced more arrests in a months-long sex trafficking investigation.
Now becoming a living nightmare. Residents in Larchmont Village say it's all because of rampant prostitution.
And from 1970 to 2010, the number of women that were virgins on their wedding night dropped to 5%.
The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world. About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers. About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers. At a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent.
Never seen her. For the first time on TV, the former kid influencer turned OnlyFans instant millionaire.
Predictor of whether you will go to prison is whether you have a father in the home.
Yep, there you go.
It has nothing to do with your race. And there is an epidemic in the African American community of fatherless homes. That just exists, man. If you or I are not in our home, and all of our children are white, okay? If you or I are not in our home, statistically speaking, our children are more likely to go to prison, and they're white. That's just the bottom line, okay? So if there's an epidemic in the African American community of fatherless homes, how do we correct that?
About half of your clients are married, is that right? About half of your clients are married, is that right?
Yes, I would say about half the clients that come to the Bunny Ranch are married.
And what have you learned about these guys that are frequenting the ranch?
Well, I learned that they love their wives, and a lot of times they just want variety, something new.
Gun control activists are quick to blame mass school shootings on firearm laws, but research shows that guns are not the root of the problem. One problem is fatherlessness. One problem is fatherlessness.
On polygamy and divorce, the history of polygamy, how it came to be, where it was spotted the first time, and how it was erased, and how it resurfaced again, and how when Jesus then comes back and he cancels it out, the whole entire history. I did the side effects of polygamy. Every single marriage that you see in a Bible that is polygamous, it has very, very negative side effects, and those side effects are major. They're not small. Like if we look at the...
You can't say that. You can't say that because that's not true. That's not biblically true.
Jacob, do you think his marriage life was actually great? Look what his wives were doing. His marriage life was actually great. Look what his wife was doing. Yeah. His wives were doing. They're fighting all the time.
Yes.
And he was in the middle of it all.
Okay, so if your children are fighting, does that mean you shouldn't have children?
Well, polygamy...
People fight in their family all the time. That doesn't make it bad to have a family.
Polygamy opens the door to only fighting. Polygamy opens up a Pandora box where...
Only fighting?
Yes.
Okay, so what about Caleb? What about Caleb and his wives?
Caleb, remind me which one. For some reason, it's not clicking.
Caleb had
I haven't looked
Josh.
I haven't looked into his marriage life. There's not much on him. I haven't looked into it. I'll look into it.
Because you can't. There's not anything bad about his marriage. It says that God said that Caleb wholly followed God.
Or maybe because there's nothing on marriage at all.
But people keep saying that every polygamous marriage in the Bible went wrong, but that's not true.
Every polygamous marriage that we have an example of, it went wrong. If we have details, if we have details about the marriage, then it went wrong. If we have no details, if there's no pro or negative about the marriage at all, then we simply do not know.
Okay, so Jacob and his 4 wives made the 12 tribes of Israel. Is that a bad thing? His 12 sons are written on the 12 gates of heaven.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a bad. It's not a bad thing. But Jesus in Matthew 19, he changed a few things around. So everything that was before, it was allowed.
God built Israel off of 4 women that are written, and their sons' names are written on the 12 gates of heaven.
Because
this doesn't symbolize something bad. It says in Ruth 4:11, let your marriage be like Rachel and Leah's.
God always uses our crap for his good. He always uses that. So the fact that God used the issue of polygamy into a blessing, that's what he does. But read carefully about the marriage aspect itself. Only about the marriage aspect. And you will see that
I don't see that as bad. I see Jacob having lots of children with his wives.
Yes, the bad thing
building
is
Israel.
The bad thing about polygamy is wives' relationship between each other. A relationship between wife 1 and wife 2, wife 2 and wife 3. And especially if they live in close proximity, there's going to be a lot of issues. And we can see all biblical polygamous marriages where one wife is making fun of the other one. Same thing with Samuel, 1 Samuel, Anna and whatever the other wife's name was. Anna couldn't.
No. It says I read that in the Greek and the Hebrew. It says that Hannah was depressed because she wasn't bearing children. It doesn't say that they were fighting.
Let me pull it up. What you said is correct, but because Anna's husband would give her double the portion and he would love her more. Anna's husband's second wife, I don't remember her name. She was making fun. Right here, see verse 5. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival, see? So wife number 2 is not kind. She's a rival. She's presented as a rival.
No, it doesn't say that in the Greek or Hebrew. It doesn't say that. That's a bad translation.
Sure. And her rival provoked her severely. Isn't that what the rivals do?
No, it doesn't say that. In the Greek and Hebrew, it says her depression. It says her depression bothered her because she wasn't having children. It doesn't say they were fighting.
Greek and let me pull up what the Septuagint says. Let's see here.
You can read Greek?
No, I'll just translate. I don't read Greek. I read Russian and English only. Let's see here.
Okay.
First Kingdoms. So here, let me just share it on the screen too. This is a Septuagint in Greek. First Samuel. Let me do a translate.
Can
you read?
Yeah. Anthropos enex.
Hold on. Let me see. So number 6. So right here. So verse 6. Right here. What does this say?
Verse 6.
Yeah. Can you see it on the screen?
What do you go then? That's not one of her husband, child. She didn't have. That means she didn't bear a husband, a child. Την θλίψην αυτής και κατά την. Yeah, it's saying her depression bothered her or angered her. because she wasn't bearing children. Kiriosta peritin mitranaftistu mi duneafti pedion. Yeah, she's bothered because she's not having children.
Is that it?
Keep reading.
Yeah, let me just do it in English. So translate in English. So, and to Hannah he gave one portion because she had no child, but Elkanah loved Hannah more than she. And the Lord had closed her womb because the Lord had not given her children in her sorrow, and in her bitter sorrow she was languishing because the Lord had closed her womb, that she should not have children. So this one doesn't really specify that. What I told you, let me.
So this guy in the chat saying she was mocked because she wasn't having a child, it doesn't say she was mocked. It also says the same thing in Hebrew. The word they translated to in English as adversary, in Hebrew it's tzarata, the depression of her, affliction or trouble of her.
Let me see one more thing. Yeah, the verse 6 in Septuagint is different than it is in KJV. Let me see what the Hebrew states.
Also in the Greek Septuagint, it says that
see in
the King James, it doesn't say that Job had concubines, but in the Greek Septuagint, it does.
See, in the MT text in Hebrew, it does say, and her rival vexed her sore. So it does specify in the Hebrew though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say right. It doesn't say her rival. Sata.
I'm guessing.
Sata Sarata. Yeah. And she was annoyed by the trouble of her. Kamkasas, Babur. It just means she was annoyed or depressed.
When I try to translate it to English using just Google, it does point to that there was a rival who was beating her down. In the Septuagint, it doesn't say this.
This second word right here. You read Hebrew from right to left.
This word.
The second word right here. Yeah.
Okay.
If you copy that and paste it to Google Translate, it should say like her depression or something like that, her trouble.
So the first three letters, let's see here, first three words. Vechista Sarata Gamkasa. It translates to, and her rival adversary vexed her also. Anger, to anger, fret. That's what it, let me just show you.
I'm supposed to say rival.
Let me show you that.
I mean, I speak Hebrew.
This is what I'm reading right here. Right here, if you can see. Try to zoom in a bit. Right here, see?
Yes, but you're doing that on, they're using a verse that they already have. Like if you go to Google Translate and take that word off, or could I share my screen?
Yeah. You should be able to. Do this screenshot.
Okay, can you see my screen? Am I sharing my screen?
Yeah, let's see here, yeah. Add it to the scene. Okay, yeah, I can see your screen. Yeah, her sorrow. I mean, it does translate her. She provoked her to her anger, grief. So grief, sorrow, it's the same thing. But it looks like if you use it within the context, it points to. So this is the word. This is this word right here.
Yeah, she's grieving because she's not having a child.
Okay, so and her anger.
That's why if you keep reading the chapter, it says that she was happy when she finally had Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she wanted was a child.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a problem with her sister wife.
This word right here, it translates to trouble. This tsarata. It's the same word. It's the same word that you translated. You translated to sorrow, but this one, but it translates here to trouble. So maybe just depends how you use it.
Same word: sorrow, trouble, depression, sadness. Same word.
So this according to the Google, the key breakdown, the word that you're translating they're referring it to her rival adversary, rival wife. So as if somebody is bringing trouble to her. That's what that's how they're translating it here. But yeah, I'm not.
Doesn't make sense.
I do not know Hebrew. I do not know Greek, but I do cross references too. I like the cross references, but if you know Greek and Hebrew, you know how to speak those two quite well.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome. Then I'll hit you up in the future. Ask you some advices on those languages.
Want to learn more about polygamy?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna talk about this in the future too. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get off the stream and look into that subject yourself. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna sit. I'm pretty sure I'll grab some more defensive zones to promote monogamy. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna stop. If we get in contact in the future again, it'll come up.
Yeah. But this is something that we really need to talk about, because if you can't understand that polygamy is ordained by God, you're probably not going to understand the rest of the Bible. You're not going to understand why Jesus had to die.
No, bro.
Like in Genesis 1.
I don't agree with you on that.
In Genesis 1, God is saying that, or is it when God's making the plants, right? I think it's Genesis
like 1:4 or 1:5, somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Genesis 1. Let's see here, 5.
Yeah, that's where polygyny actually started. I think 1:11.
Waters, so 1:11. Yeah, so right here, 1:11. Let the earth bring forth grass, herb that yields seed, and the fruit trees that yield fruits according to its kind, whose seed is in itself. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself, according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So evening and morning, the third day. Where do you see polygamy in this verse?
Plants breed through polygyny.
Oh, bro, come on. you're an interesting one.
Plants, did you know plants were the first organisms to breed sexually?
Sure. The animals do the same thing.
When they release pollen, they pollinate multiple female flowers. It's only natural.
Dude, animals do the same thing.
Yes, 90% of mammals are polygynous. That's ordained by God before man.
Or maybe because sin has entered into the world, because the polygamy
through plants.
Not through plants. I mean, you may see signs of polygamy in plants and everything. You may, but within humans, the first time where we spot polygamy is actually an evil line of Cain. Lamech had 2 wives. That's the first time where we spot polygamy. Polygamy is not spotted within the righteous line of Seth at all. So
but
then
Adam and Eve were monogamous and they disobeyed God. They were the first monogamous.
They were, and so is their children and everybody else. Even Noah was monogamous as well, and his sons were monogamous as well. So in the righteous line, all the way to the flood, you spot no polygamy whatsoever. You spot polygamy only in the evil line of Cain. That's it. So God, through the flood, in essence, destroyed all polygamy from planet Earth. But then it restarted again.
So he helped Abraham be polygamous because he didn't want them to be polygamous?
Abraham was not polygamous. He was polygamous because Sarah has forced him into it. And Abraham looks like he figured out that it was a mistake.
He had concubines after he left, after that. Remember he sent his concubines out?
Abraham? Abraham had only 3 wives. He had Sarah.
He had more wives after. He had more concubines after Hagar.
I never saw this in the Bible. He had only 3 wives, according to everything that I've seen. Sarah, his first wife.
Abraham sent his wives, his concubines out with diamonds and gifts.
Is that after Sarah? Maybe you're referring to the children, because I remember he gave gifts to the children of Hitura, of one wife.
Yes.
Of one wife.
And his concubines.
Well, Hitura is called a concubine, but it was only one wife. Let me pull this up in the Bible real quick. Genesis 25. It's in the beginning of the chapter. Genesis 25. Look, so Abraham again took a wife, one wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, and there's a few more people, and there's a descendants. So let's see here, right here. So starting from verse 5. And Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of the concubines, and the sons of the concubines are Keturah and Hagar. But Keturah and Hagar,
Keturah is a concubine.
which Abraham had while he was living, he sent them eastwards. Well,
Keturah is not a concubine.
yeah, sure, she's a wife, but Hagar was also a wife.
But it says concubines plural.
Yes,
That means he had other concubines besides Hagar. Keturah wasn't a concubine.
A concubine is a more of a sex slave. Keturah was
Well, I
not.
wouldn't say that. It's a employee that you marry. Like if you hire somebody, if you're the boss of a company and you hire a woman and you sleep with her, and now she's your concubine.
Yeah, she's not your wife.
That means she's
an
under
employee.
she's under the rule of his wife that can inherit money. So Sarah can tell Hagar what to do. Hagar's her maid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, like, she was never considered to be. She was the wife of Abraham, but she wasn't considered to be the wife. The only wife that Abraham really had was Sarah. Everybody else is just they're more of a. They don't.
Concubine is a wife.
The what?
A concubine is a wife.
A concubine is a wife. Yes, I agree with that. But like the primary wife is Sarah. Everybody else were the concubines. And he had Hagar and
Yes.
Keturah. We don't find anything else. Anybody else? We just don't find anybody else.
I mean, it says concubines plural. So it has to be somebody besides Hagar. Because look, if you go back to verse 1, it says Abraham again took a wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If she was a concubine, it would have just said a concubine.
Look how Hagar is described. Look how she's described. So verse 3. Then Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband to be his wife. So a maid becomes a wife. That's a concubine.
Yes.
That's a concubine.
Who's
So,
his other concubine?
so Hagar is an example of a concubine, even though she's mentioned as a wife, but she's still a concubine because she's a slave wife, employee wife.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, according to what I understand, the other one is Keturah. Why? Because the promise only applied to Isaac, and that's it. So the promise only applied to, I guess, to the original wife, or to the main wife, or
Yes.
the wife of, the promised child.
That's fine. That's fine. But God blessed both Isaac and Ishmael. And notice that when God is speaking to Abraham, when he's dealing with Sarah and Hagar and bearing children through them, God isn't speaking to Abraham like he's angry. He's speaking to him saying like, hey, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless your children and I'm going to bless your wife. Your name's no longer Avram, but your name now is Abraham. Your wife's name is no longer Sarai, but Sarah, which means princess. Abraham means father of many. So God doesn't show any signs of being angry at any of them. And he's saying that I will multiply your seed.
Mm-hmm.
So God is taking credit for that, if anything. He's saying, I gave you this.
Yeah, but sometimes, yes, I agree with what you're saying. God is going to multiply the seed. God is giving you this. God is going to bless you. I agree with the things that you're saying.
And the
Why?
angel of the Lord,
Why? Because
the
God.
angel of the Lord is also, he's also in on it. He's telling Hagar, like, return.
Uh-huh.
Go back. I'm going to bless you and your child.
Yeah, how about this verse 12? Do you think this is a really? Do you really think this is a huge blessing or this is more of a pain in the butt?
Sounds like a blessing.
He shall be a wild
So
man.
God said, he said, I'm going to bless her.
He shall be. Look at the description of Ishmael. She shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. That's not. That's
They lived in the wilderness.
It points to issues. and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. It points to that Ishmael is going to be a wild man. He's probably going to be uneducated. He's probably going to be, illiterate. His IQ level will probably be low. Wild man, a caveman.
No.
Caveman.
Why would he be?
And as a result,
As
a result of his understanding, his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand will be pushing back against him because they wouldn't want anything to do with him. But he's just going to be all over the place. So Ishmael.
I don't understand it.
The description.
I don't understand it like that because God already said that He's going to bless him.
Bless how? By multiplying. See, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly. So yes,
Why didn't He curse him?
The blessing is a multiplication of descendants. But this right here, verse 12, is more on a problematic side than on a blessing side. Because the description of this human being, Ishmael, that Sarah pushed Abraham to commit an error, this Ishmael dude has been literally a spike at Israel's or Jacob's side.
It still doesn't prove that polygamy is wrong. Because, okay, Adam, he had one wife, and his son unalived his own brother. That's worse than what happened between Isaac and Ishmael. That doesn't mean that monogamy is bad, no.
No, I wasn't talking about polygamy when I'm speaking about Ishmael. I'm just saying that Ishmael was not a blessing. He was a blessing in a form where he's going to be multiplied a lot, but how he's described and the things that he will bring to our earth, it doesn't seem like it's a blessing. He's going to be fighting every man, and every man is going to be fighting against him. He will be a wild man. Doesn't seem like it's a blessing. It's more on a problematic side than a blessing side.
That doesn't mean that polygamy is bad, though.
Polygamy introduced this issue. If Sarah was hardcore on monogamy, then Hagar would never come into picture.
For monogamy, because Cain killed his brother, or unalived his brother. Cain unalived his brother Abel. That doesn't mean that monogamy is bad.
See, the thing is, right here, if polygamy would never happen, then Ishmael would never happen. Then this set of issues would never happen. Monogamy. You can't, because if monogamy would never happen, then Cain and Abel would never happen. But I can't say if polygamy would never happen. If monogamy never happened, the baby is never born. But if polygamy never happens, that means that a man still has one wife.
Cain wouldn't have slaughtered Abel.
If monogamy would happen, Cain would not even come to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, monogamy has to be there, but polygamy is not required to be there. If polygamy would never happen, then Ishmael would never happen. If Ishmael would never happen, then we would not have the issues that we have. We would not have Muhammad and his deception. If Ishmael would never happen.
You don't think anything bad could happen in a monogamous marriage?
Issues are there, but
then monogamy is bad. Then we should stop being monogamous, guys. You guys in the chat, go ahead and get you another wife,
bro.
Because monogamy is going bad for a lot of people. Divorce is like 50% for monogamous couples now. So don't be monogamous, guys.
Bro. Look. If wow, I just flew out of my mind what I want to say. I had a good point, but it's okay. Yeah. Polygamy brings issues. If anybody wants issues, jump into polygamy. If you want. Oh, this is what I want to say. So, how Christ loved the church. That's how husband is out to love the wife. Okay. Now, how Christ loved the church can only be applicable to only one wife. Husband can apply this only to one wife. He cannot apply the same love as Christ loved the church. He cannot apply it to every wife. He can't. It's impossible. He cannot treat all wives exactly the same. Everybody knows this. And according to the Bible, there has always been a preference. If polygamy is there has always been a preference of wife. So this means that a husband cannot love his wife as Christ loved the church because of polygamy.
Are you a bride of Christ?
I'm what?
Are you a bride of Christ?
Am I? Are you gonna be stretching this again?
Christ that he can only have one bride.
I am part of the bride of Christ. The bride of Christ is the church. Okay, the church, even though it's the congregation, even though
if I say that I'm married to my harem, the word harem is singular, right? But we're talking about a multitude of people. If I say I'm married to my group, the word's singular, but I'm still talking about a multitude of people.
Sure, but look, the Christ is married to the church. Okay, now the church is his bride. I am not his bride. I'm his child. I'm his son.
So you're not his bride. That's going to be in Matthew 25.
I'm Matthew 25, and the bride that represents the church is not the same too. Bride that represents the church is only one. Matthew 25 has 10 women.
But he's marrying 5.
Sure, but he's still marrying 5. But bride is one. There's no brides. Church is not represented as brides. Church is represented as bride, singular. So Matthew 25 to bride of the church, they don't match.
In 2 Corinthians. In 2 Corinthians 11:2, for I am jealous over you, and it says you, plural in Greek. For I am jealous over you. So it should actually say in English, for I am jealous over you all with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you all to one husband, that I present you all as a chaste virgin to Christ.
What was that? What was the chapter again and the verse?
2 Corinthians 11:2.
11:2.
In the Greek, it says you, plural, imas.
Yeah, he's talking about the church. The church, the church is called one bride, as singular. But the thing is, if he's referring to people within the church, he has to call them in a plural form, because you cannot refer to the people within the church as singular.
To Christ. They all have to have their own contract.
Aren't we adopted?
If somebody gets out of line, he has to divorce one of them. He can't divorce all of them.
He cannot divorce his church in general.
Yes. Everyone has their own individual marriage contract. Can you see my screen?
Let me add your screen real quick. Yeah, I can see your screen now.
You see right here where it says imas? That's plural.
Okay.
Says it right here again. Imas.
Can a husband love?
Imas teu zilo. Irmosamin garimas. Eniandri. Patrenon. Agnin. Parastiso. Parastiseto Christo.
Okay, let's go to the actual marriage context. So let's go to 1 Corinthians 7, 1-8. This 1 Corinthians is about marriage. It's not about something else with an example of marriage. Principles of marriage. Right here in this principle of marriage, you will only find wife as a singular. That's it. You will not find wives. You will not find one husband and wives. You will always find let the husband render to his wife, not wives, wife. Let each man has his own wife, one wife.
Every man doesn't have more than one wife, so he's speaking in general.
This whole entire passage that talks about the marriage, it talks about one wife as singular. The whole entire chapter. You will not find polygamy here at all. Then in Romans 7:2, you will not find.
But why is he saying this? Right here in 7.
In Ephesians,
he's talking to somebody here.
Yeah, that's the teaching for the church.
You have to go back to 1 Corinthians 5 to see who he's talking to. He's talking about a man that was sleeping with his stepmother. That's why he's saying let every man have his own wife. In 1 Corinthians 5:1, it is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife. There was a man in the Corinthian church sleeping with his one of his father's wife, not his own. He wasn't sleeping with his own mother. So his father had more than one wife.
I am not 100% sure that you can even connect chapter 5 to chapter 7. This is a principle of marriage. I think it's a completely separate subject.
No, he's talking. It's referring to who he's talking to.
Now concerning the things which you have wrote to me. So he's answering a question that they have wrote, and this is the answer to the question.
They wrote him a letter. They about that whoever that was sleeping with one of his father's wives.
He's all the way in chapter 5. This is in chapter 7. And now he says, now concerning the things which you have wrote to me. Now, as if he's changing the subject. As if he's changing the subject.
That's what they wrote him. They asked him, what should they do about this guy? He's saying, kick him out of the church. Get your own woman. That's what he's saying.
And they probably wrote him other questions too, like about marriage.
1 Corinthians 5. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife? And ye are puffed up, and have not rather mourned that he that hath done this deed might be taken away from among you. For I verily, as absent in body, but present in spirit, have judged already, as though I were present concerning him that hath so done this deed. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, when ye are gathered together, and my spirit with the power of our Lord Jesus Christ, to deliver such an one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Jesus. Your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such an one know not to eat. For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within? But them that are without God judgeth. Therefore put away from among yourselves that wicked person.
So this right here, now concerning the things which you have wrote to me. He's starting a whole new subject here. It's not a continuous subject. He's literally now concerning the things which you wrote to me. And he's popping up an answer to one of the questions that they sent him.
Which you wrote me?
Yeah, he's starting a whole new subject. It's not a continuous one.
That's not a new subject. He's referring to what they wrote him.
Now concerning the things which you have wrote to me, yes. And
it is good for a man to not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let every man have his own wife. He's saying let every man have his own wife because there was a guy in the church taking his father's wife.
Not necessarily. Look, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So now Paul was single. He had no wife. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, not because of that event that happened over there in chapter 5, no, but because of a sexual immorality, well, people will not be able to control themselves. Now they should have their own wife. But it's good for a man not to touch a woman. So it is good for a man not to touch a woman, is not even referred to chapter 5, because he's talking about being unmarried. In verse 8, but I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain as I am. So this right here and verse 1 is pretty much the same thing. So this is not connecting to chapter 5. It's its own context. And within its own context, the wife here throughout this whole passage is presented as singular all the time. Same thing in Ephesians, right here, this Ephesians. It's the same thing. Ephesians 5:22.
Because the guy was only sleeping with one of his father's wives. He wasn't sleeping with his own mother.
Okay, how about this passage?
The guy,
Ephesians.
Why isn't Paul saying to the man, to the man's father, you can't have more than one wife? He's saying don't sleep with your father's wife. He's not telling his father that he can't have more than one.
It's a sin to sleep with the father's wife. Sin.
Yes, and it's not a sin to have more than one.
Yes, it's not presented as a sin. But according to the law of God, it is a sin to sleep with the father's wife. It's actually a disgusting sin.
Yes, that's a sin.
But
I'm saying that
in this passage right here, Ephesians 5:22 to 33, this passage, you won't be able to tie this passage to Corinthians 5, because this passage is all by itself too, and it talks about wife in a singular form.
They didn't when the Bible was written, they didn't have chapters and verses.
Okay.
So it's one letter. It's not like separate letters.
I know, but what are you going to okay, so you're trying to tie Corinthians 5 and 7. 1 Corinthians 5 and 7. What are you going to tie that Ephesians to?
Ephesians
5:22 to 33. What are you going to tie this to? Or is this all by itself? Now, if this is all by itself, it's the same thing as in Corinthians.
It said that concerning what you wrote me, that's what they wrote to Paul about. They wrote a letter to Paul asking him what they should do about this guy in the church that is bragging about sleeping with one of his father's wives.
Sure, but was that the only
Paul
question?
responds and says, kick him out. And
was that the only question?
With chapter 7.
But was that the only question that they wrote him, or possibly they asked him a few more things?
They could have asked him other things, but obviously he was referring to that guy.
That's what you think. I think it's all by itself.
Okay, but what does he mean by get your own wife?
Because he's talking about, look how he starts. It is good for a man not to touch a woman. In other words, to be single, not married. But because of sexual immorality, but because people cannot control themselves, each man should have his own wife.
Is the guy sleeping with
No.
Is the guy sleeping with one of his father's wives, isn't that sexual immorality?
Sure, but I don't think so. This is referred to that. I think this is in general terms. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality. Now, sexual immorality, why? Because some people cannot control themselves and be single, not to touch a woman. So this part, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. It actually refutes chapter 5. It refutes that.
Listen, this guy was being so irritating, and like, I was trying my best to be patient with this guy. I didn't yell at him or nothing like that. I mean, I could have. This is like 2 hours in. I'm basically like mopping the floor with this guy, and he's still not giving in. And you got guys in the chat, they're agreeing with what I'm saying, but he's just not getting it. And it's, the good thing about it is when I have these debates like this, there are a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there's people in the crowd or in the chat or whatever who's listening and they understand what I'm saying. So I don't mind having, 2 or 3 hour, even 4 or 5 hour debates with people, because the guys listening are going to learn. They're going to go back and take notes and go back and read the Bible and see what I'm saying is actually true. They're going to go and study the Hebrew and Greek. They're going to be that much educated in scripture. That's why I do this, to edify the people, not this bullshit church doctrine that they're teaching in seminary school and in these fake churches that don't really do anything to save anybody. They're not really teaching you the full gospel, the whole gospel, which polygyny is part of. Monogamy only marriage is not saving women. It's making it harder for women to find good husbands. The majority of the problems we have today could be reduced if women just knew they could marry a man regardless if he's married or not. Women need to understand that they could marry the best men that they could possibly get, instead of her marrying some bozo just because he's single. So I'll go ahead and post the rest of the video maybe next week or so. So Look out for that.